Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, what's up? I'm so happy to have you. If you are returning, thanks so much for coming back. Today we are bringing back the Christian conversations we used to have a while back here on this channel, and I have a whole separate video as to like how we're moving with the brand, how we're moving with the channel, and I thank you guys for rocking with me. But in the meantime, what we're going to be doing is bringing back some of those Christian conversations. So if you want to have more topics, have more questions answered regarding my faith, regarding our faith, etc., let me know. Comment them down below. But for the meantime, let's go ahead and hop into this video that is literally all about feeling far from God, feeling like God has left you, feeling like God is not there, and how I've built my relationship back with God and how we have come back into the friendship and the relationship that I so desire. So let's hop in. So first and foremost, I want you to know that if you are feeling far from God right now in this season, you are not alone. We have all survived a very interesting past few years with everything going on. There's been so many things going on in the world, and it can sometimes be easier to draw back and go into isolation rather than leaning into relationship with God. And so that's what I did in this past season, which is why I wanted to just come to you and tell you you're not alone and that this is not the end. This is not it. So let's kind of hop into like what I've done in order to build my relationship back with God. So if I'm being completely honest and open with you guys, this past probably 2 months have absolutely brought me to my knees. Absolute rock bottom. But sometimes it's actually all the time that I've hit rock bottom, I've realized that God literally was the rock at the bottom and that you can't go anywhere but up once you hit rock bottom. So that's the good news. That's what happened to me. I just felt like so many things around me were crumbling. And I just felt so out of alignment within my business, within my content, within so many aspects of my life, within how I was living life. And I knew something was wrong. And so what I did, the first step that I realized was my absolute need for Him. I realized that I was not spending time with God. I was not prioritizing God. I wasn't even barely talking to God except for, hey God, can you help me find a parking spot? Hey God, like little things like that, instead of this constant communication, this like absolute reliance on Him, this absolute like need for Him. And so the first thing that I did was, one, humble myself. Well, life and God humbled me and then allowed me to humble myself, but also humble myself to realize my absolute need for Him. That was number one. Number two is I reprioritized my life, putting Him back where He belongs, which is number one in my life. I've always loved God. I've loved God since I was little, since I was a child. And I think that was like, He made sure He had His arms around me when I was little, because I went through so much as a child that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Him. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for Him. And so I'm so thankful. But for me to kind of forget that in the midst of everything going on was a bit of pride involved. And it was a bit of just me trying to do it all on my own and hustle and grind my way to wherever I was trying to go and do all the things that God had called me to do without Him, which is insanity, right? I reprioritized my life, not just reprioritize some aspects of my life, my entire life. I felt like this past 2 months, everything was like cleared out, was like absolute, like just flat plane. And the good news of that is like you can build from that with what you want. You don't have anything in your way. You don't have anything stopping you. It was pretty much a fresh start is what I was calling it. And that was in every aspect of my life. That was business. That was my health, my working out, all that stuff, my relationship. It was my friendships. It was so many other places in my life that I felt like were crumbling because of how I had previously prioritized my life. I'd put business first, and then I put business second, and then business third, and then friends and my relationship, and then God at the end. And it was jacked up. And I knew it was because I felt unaligned the entire time. I just felt like I didn't have time to stop and reprioritize. And I don't know about you, okay? I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like we run from being close to God because we don't want Him to wreck our plans. We have plans and we're like, no, I'm gonna do this. This is what I'm gonna do. When I say we, I mean me. Okay, me as well. Like you too, maybe. But I know for me, I've had certain plans where I'm like afraid to tell God, because I'm like, God, don't try to shake this up. I already have a whole strategy of how I'm about to do this. And God's like, all right, do you boo. And so I'm like, I'm not that's not happening no more. Lord, I need you up in this strategy. I need you to know this plan. I need you to create the plan, etc. But all that to say, I know I'm joking, but this was a very hard time in my life. And I usually overcome things like that, like with humor, but it was a really, really hard time in my life. And just, again, like hitting the rock at the bottom helped me to realize and look around. And when I kind of felt like it, I saw nothing. And I felt like I didn't have my relationship with my friends anymore, and me and my boyfriend, and just like everything in my life was just not where I knew it should have been. And I knew for the past year that I was struggling with really depression and anxiety. I knew what I needed to do, but my flesh was fighting against it. It was fighting against spending time with God, which I knew is what I needed to do. I needed to prioritize that. So when it comes to prioritizing God, I started the 75 Soft Challenge, which I'm gonna have another video about. So if you wanna check that out, you can check it out up there. Or up here. I never freaking remember. I haven't filmed in a while. But anyway, I started the 75 Soft Challenge, and one of the main things I added to that challenge is to spend 30 minutes a day with God in quiet time and one-on-one time with me and him. And I'm just talking to him. I'm praying. I may be writing. I may be worshiping. It's all types of things I can do in that quiet time, but prioritizing that time with him so that I can hear him and know which direction to go and know what to do, instead of in pride trying to figure it out on my own, trying to do it on my own, and then wonder why I'm having to sustain it on my own is because I did it on my own. Anyway, I would say that's the biggest thing that I've learned in this season. And I'm like, okay, Lord, I got the lesson. You don't need to teach it to me again. I got it. But it's to prioritize my relationship with God. He is everything, and I am absolutely nothing without him. And realizing that, it shows how much pride there was in that season to think that I can be self-sustained. That is not who I am. That is never who I've been. I need God, absolutely. And I feel like that's why for a long period of time I was feeling so unaligned. Like I would literally, y'all, the story is way deeper than what I'm really telling. And maybe one day I'll have the courage to open up with everything that I really, really walked through in this past year. But for the most part, I'll stop there for the sake of me not being ready to share that yet. But anyway, it's been a crazy year, I will say, but I have drastically reprioritized my life. And I feel like with me putting God back in the center and putting God back as number one, everything else now in my life is slowly falling back into place in the order that it should be falling into place. Okay. And I think that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. This season has been a time of development, of like recognizing like what really matters. And I am honestly so thankful that I've learned this lesson when I did. All right, number 3 is stopping to listen to his voice. A lot of times we're like, hey guy, I really want a Nintendo Switch, which I do. Anyway, I really want a Nintendo Switch. I really want this lighting. I really want this. I want this. God, give me this, like, it's always like, hey God, like be my genie sometimes. A lot of like, for me, that's what it was for a season. If we're being honest, okay, if we can be honest, okay, like we always can be, that's kind of how I was treating God, rather than stopping and saying, God, not my will, but yours be done. What do you want for me? Like, what do you want for my life? What do you want me doing right now? What action steps do you want me taking? And then stopping to listen. That is the key, because a lot of times, once we get over the hump of like, hey God, can you bless me with this and this and this, and there's nothing wrong. Asking you shall not receive. Okay. So you can ask for what you want, but also it's making sure that our desires are aligned with the will of God, aligned with the desires of God. That is the important part. And so once we get past that step and then we start asking and we start praying prayers that are aligned with the will of God, we do still have to stop and say, okay, Lord, I'm listening. I'm listening, and get quiet and allow yourself to be free of distractions, free of anything around you that's going to bother you, your phone, your dog, whatever it is around you. Get in a quiet space and listen to his voice. It's a still, small whisper. And honestly, hearing one word from God can change your entire life, change the entire direction of where you're going. And so for me, stopping to listen has been absolutely huge, and has been one of those things I did not do back then. And then on top of listening is also obeying what he says, whether you're like, but I want to go get this now. I want to be able to do this now. I want to have this now. If God's like, hey, I need you to wait for a second because I'm trying to reprioritize some things and still work some things out in you, you have to obey. Okay. Like delayed obedience is still disobedience. And so listen and then obey. Okay, so number 4 hits really deep for me. So if it hits deep for you, I need you to put it in the comments. Number 4 for me is I had to realize that there was a piece of me that was mad at God. There was a piece of me that was mad at God. I felt like, God, like, you know, I wanted this, you know, this is where I wanted to be, you know, whatever. Like, the pride within those statements just make me cringe. But anyway, why hasn't this happened? God, you know I'm struggling with depression. Why haven't you healed me? You know, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know I wanted to lose weight. Why haven't you eliminated the fat cells? You see, you see what I'm saying? Like, and I'm laughing, but again, I'm very serious. Like, I was blaming not only God, but everybody else and everything else on why I was having negative results in my life, why I was having negative effects in my life. When I say negative, just things that aren't necessarily desirable. So when, like, my YouTube channel, I didn't feel like it was growing, but when I really looked back at it, I wasn't posting. And was it growing? Yeah, it actually was growing, but it was my mindset. And then when it came to weight loss, I'm like, Andrea, you're literally eating sweets every day and not even working out, boo. Like, where are you thinking these results are going to come from? And I had to stop, like, blaming everybody, because here's another everybody or everything, because I would be like, oh, my friends, all they want to do is, you know, go out to eat because I live in Dallas. Ain't no beaches, there's not a lot of stuff to do, like natural things to do, like hikes and stuff. You can do a hike, whatever, but you know what I mean, it's not like whatever. And so it feels like whenever me and my friends hang out, I always go out to eat with them. And in my mind, I was like, what else? You know, I haven't lost the weight because, you know, my friends are in town and I got to go eat with them because they're not, what else is there to do? And then I'm not going to be able to see them if I don't. And all these reasonings, all these things that I was blaming on everybody, I was mad at God, and that was coming out in my relationships with other people and myself. So I would say the biggest thing that I've learned in this season is, 1, my anger was misdirected. I should have never been mad at God at all. God is my friend. He is my best friend, okay, that I can talk to about anything. But also with that, I realized I had to take accountability for my actions. I had to realize that certain things that I was doing was tearing me apart. It contributed to my burnout. The delayed obedience was still disobedience in my life. And there were so many areas where I knew I was misaligned and some things needed to shift, but I just didn't do those things. And so I realized in my heart that I was mad at God, like I said before, and that it was misdirected. And then 2, I realized that it was time to take accountability, and that I am not powerless in this situation. I'm not powerless where I am. Yes, I went through a depressive season. I went through a season of crazy anxiety where I could feel it in my body and in my like mental space. It was just a lot going on, but I am no longer a victim of that. I was going through it. I have survived. You know what I mean? I was surviving through it, and it's a mindset shift with it. Like at first I was kind of like, oh, pity me, God, you know I struggle with this. You know I deal with this. Why haven't you healed me? Why haven't, you know what I mean? Like, you know I wanted this. You know I wanted that. You know this is where I wanted to be. Why haven't you done it? And that's where the anger was coming from, rather than, hey, God, what are you protecting me from? Hey, God, where do I need to put my foot on the gas a bit more, or take my foot off the gas and put it on the brake and allow you to step in? Where it was not a partnership with God, any of it. And I was just living life. I literally was just living life, and it felt like I was just existing. It didn't feel like I was living for a big season of my life, y'all, like a year. And even I'm getting flashbacks to those moments. And before this video, I prayed, I was like, God, take me back to remember like what that was like and where I am now, because I wanted to give you guys the most honest and raw video about what it feels like to feel far from God. I felt like, God, where are you? Where are you? And in the midst of all that, I realized He was right there the entire time. It was all the other distractions that I had placed in the way that weren't allowing me to see or hear Him or notice His presence. And that once I realized that, I was like, oh, yeah, yeah, I get it. I see all the distractions now. Number 5 is I started taking small action in the step of which I know he was calling me to. So I knew he was calling me to take care of my body. I knew he was calling me to get back into content. I knew he was calling me to do X, Y, and Z, like in life, and spend time with him and spend time with my friends and prioritize my family as well. And so I've done small steps, like little bitty steps, like so that I'm not like, you know, bulldozing back in and then I hit burnout again or whatever. Small steps in the direction of which he is calling me to. And one of the things I've done in this season, in like literally like this week, this moment, this time period, is instead of me being like, okay, God, can I have the next 5 steps? I'm like, no, God, no. Because that would even have me run for the 5 steps and then me stop and be like, God, can I get the next 5 and then go run again and then stop? Instead of, hey, God, give me the next step, the one next step that you need me to take. And then let's do this together. It's like, it's a partnership. It's a partnership. It's not just I'm gonna check in with you in a few months type of thing, because there's so many things that God may have been trying to direct your path in a different way, but you totally missed it because it's been a month since you've really talked to him. So anyway, it's been a step-by-step journey for me, a step-by-step action plan for me. And honestly, I am feeling amazing. Like, I've started working out again. I've started taking care of my body. I've started prioritizing him and spending time with him. I'm filming a freaking YouTube video after, y'all, like a year-long break, pretty much. Like, there were some videos in between it, but I was still dealing with the same situation that I'm kind of talking about. I was still dealing with that during that time. So like, this is the first time I am really free from the things that I was struggling with, depression, anxiety, things like that back in that season. This is the first time I'm filming a video and fully free from that. And so anyway, and that all started with mending my relationship with God. And so if you are feeling far from God, I want you to know again that you are not alone, okay? You are not the only one who has ever felt like this. And also, this is not the end of the road for you. This is not like unrepairable. Spend time with him, okay? Just like you would reconnect with the old friend that you haven't seen since high school or middle school or whatever. Just sit down and say, God, I want to restart. I want to refresh. Like, here's what's been going on in my life, and this is where I need you to come in. And just start there. Just start there with simple prayers, with simple just time with him. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Maybe crack open your Bible. It can be whatever you want, okay? But I just wanted you to know that this entire time you felt far from God, he's always been right there with you. It's more so what distractions are in your life that aren't allowing you to see him, to hear him, and to feel his presence, like I said before. And so that's something that I've realized in this season. So I'm hoping that that helps you. So anyway, you all, if this has been helpful, let me know. Check out the other video that I have on if you're feeling directionless, because that's also where I was in this season. That story is going to go a little bit deeper into what we were talking about today. So if that's what you're interested in, check it out. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can stay a part of this community. I love you guys to the moon and back, and always remember that I'm rooting for you. Bye.